You are to leave the kingdom if you won't do a 7-day isolation. Priests use water because it represents spirit. Righteous courts with spirit-filled judges. All priests are judges. If someone is not of the kingdom, do not talk to them. Self-imposed isolation is done in the household starting immediately. Others can't touch them or their bed, chair, or clothes. Being kicked out from the kingdom can be waived if you have the right attitude. You can only talk about the kingdom, Jesus, and God to people not in the kingdom. For some, it might be tough, but the days of cleansing will get less and less. The banished may be allowed back in the kingdom as a slave servant for 6 years. If self-imposed isolation is after evening, then continue the next day. Please don't cuss your wife every night just so you don't have to touch her. You may drink, but if you cuss or get angry, then self-impose an isolation if sin checks in. No drinking during self-imposed isolation. During cleansings, you are making a vow with God to do better. No less than 7 days isolation on bad sins and behaviors, because sin is sin. If you sin after deciding you could handle the 7 days if caught, but wanted to do the sin anyway, like adultery, then handle being kicked out of the kingdom. Everything in the past is forgotten under the 7-day intro isolation. The 7-day isolation is more for unintentional and disruptive behavior and sin, not planned sin. The 7-day is also for the accused who say they didn't do it. Planned sin is out of the kingdom. You might as well leave the kingdom now if you're planning to sin, because you're already out. A reason not to sin is you'll be a slave for 6 years. If you can't resist temptation is your only defense, then we can help you. There is no reason to sin in the kingdom unless you don't belong there. I realize it takes time to break habits, so we'll have mercy on you if you have the right attitude. Please don't kick me out. I'm sorry is the right attitude. The system is you turn yourself in because you know if we have to catch you, you get kicked out. I don't want people saying I am going to sleep with a girl and then check in. There is no loophole for that, or for sorcery, vile sin, liars, murderers, and adulterers. Murderers go to the refuge city. If 2 witnesses, then to death. The accused must stay until found not guilty. If there is only 1 witness and found guilty, they must stay forever. One-day isolation is in prayer with no talking and no entertainment. An accused murderer outside of the refuge city is to receive immediate death. A murderer must be put to death. There is no ransom. A murderer's blood is to be sprinkled on the murder spot. Priests govern the refuge cities and deliver the murderer to the avenger of blood. It's asking a lot to require people not to sleep with each other when not married. But when I did it, I was not in the kingdom. And if it was 100 years ago, I wouldn't have done it. You are kicked out as a child of Satan, but come in as a prodigal son, as a redeemed son, if you return. How long out of the kingdom kicked out? There's no set rule. You must ask and see if mercy granted. You may never get back in. The government's murder to keep things their way or to change things. You are priests to the king. The government caused an adverse public opinion against Koresh, and you allowed them to justify their murder of him. I am a cup-bearer for God. Heaven's Gate and garland were 2 goats used for making atonement. The lot for the Lord fell on Heaven's Gate, and the scapegoat lot fell on garland. I am the man appointed to take care of the scapegoat sent into the desert. The scapegoat is now in a solitary place, and I have released it in the desert. I have washed myself and my clothes of them.